Here we are. It is August 1st, 2025, and this is the Friday video. We do these each week. We take a look at those that you come every week know what we do. We take a look at the Asian, Japanese, Chinese art market, the auction market, see what's been going on. And lately we've been talking more and more about other antiques because a lot of you, I've heard from many of you, you collect more than just things from the Far East, which is pretty great. I've heard from a number of American furniture collectors, some people that collect the modern 20th century modern stuff, European furniture, and so forth. And we're going to touch on those a little bit today. There's a couple of sales coming up that have some nice American things in them that you might want to hear about. And we go on from there. I did hear from Josh Eldred this week. He was very, very pleased with the Martha Hamilton sale that took place down there. That was that great American collection. And he wanted to say thank you we did a couple of videos, as you know, on it. I thought it was worthwhile and showed some real strength in the American furniture market, which we haven't seen in a long time. It's been slowly coming back, I think. I think it's going to continue, but we'll watch it. Maybe it'll peter out. You don't know. But for now, it seems to be that's what's happening. All right, now, what's going on out there? There have been not a lot of sales, as you all know. The global pages are fairly quiet. Everybody's on vacation. Europe goes on vacation during the summer. The auction houses in America, for the large part, take most of the summer off. The big auction houses in New York, Christie's and Sotheby's, they're doing almost nothing until September. July and August is very quiet there. They've got a couple of exhibition shows going on, and they're selling, sports memorabilia and underwear from famous people and stuff, but they're not doing much else. Maybe some wine bottles. I don't know what. Nobody knows what they're doing. I was talking to somebody else about them this week. He said, I have no idea what they're doing. The two big auction houses. It's just really strange. And I think they're losing a lot of their market to the mid-range auction houses that frankly do a better job. I think this is what's happening. The internet has leveled the playing field for them in ways they never imagined. So there we are. All right, now some upcoming sales. Some sales that are coming along. There's a few. We're going to talk about some results first, and then go from there. Things that sold this past week. This was down in, I think this was New Orleans Auction Gallery. New Orleans Auction Gallery had their sale on the 26th. Last Saturday, and they sold this. And this was that really interesting Anglo-Indian collector's cabinet. We had previewed it a couple of weeks ago. It needs to be oiled and cleaned up and so forth, but it had wonderful handles on it. It had these beautiful probably gilt bronze corner edges and so forth. And those look Chinese to me. And I wonder if they didn't perhaps get them sent in from China to make this box during the 19th century. But it's a beautiful, beautiful box. It was all fitted out with these nice drawers to put collector's items in. And then it had this beautiful veneer work on top. And this wood is, just so you know, the wood on this was very, it needed some conditioning. This box has not been maintained terribly well, I think, for a while. So the wood doesn't have a lot of life in it. But easily fixed, as we've talked about before. And a couple of you have asked, what is it you should use on old wood? If you have oiled wood that doesn't have varnish on it or polyurethane on it, obviously, but where you can oil the wood directly itself, is an old natural finishes. The formula I've always used has been boiled linseed oil in equal parts, a third and a third and a third. Boiled linseed oil, turpentine, and vinegar. Yes, vinegar. And it's a formula that the British cabinet makers have used for hundreds of years. And they use it in Europe as well. It nourishes the wood. You rub some on and you leave it, let it dry for hours or maybe for the day. Go back, polish it out a little, put another layer on it, and it's a building process. This is how they would do it. And you maybe put 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 coats on until the wood becomes even and clear and perfect. And if it happens very, very quickly with just 1 or 2 coats, the wood's been fairly well maintained. But if it keeps drinking it, you keep going until the wood is basically had its thirst quenched. and then you rub it out and you end up with a nice finish. And I know that a lot of people out there back in the 80s and 90s when that process was very commonly used, the sort of the younger furniture people were coming along and said, "Oh no, you should use synthetics. You should use this. Use foreign bees or something, some other formula." They thought that the turpentine would darken the wood too much or it would hurt the wood. It doesn't hurt it at all. It doesn't. It's fine. And it's not terribly expensive. You could buy enough to make a gallon of the stuff that'll last just several years for about $30. It's the most economical way to do it. You just have to keep mixing it, sloshing it around in a big mason jar or something because it separates fairly quickly. But on a piece of furniture like this wood would just grow depth. It would just look phenomenal. So if one of you bought it, do that. And maybe give it 6 or 8 coats of that over the course of a week. And this will be a spectacular looking piece of wood. Beautiful furniture. Anyway, it sold reasonably, $850 to plus the premium, so around $1,100 for the box. And it was a nice size. It was 10 by 15 by 10. So it was 15 inches wide, which is a nice size box, good table box. You'd put it anywhere and enjoy it. All right, and then over to this. You may remember we talked about this. This was that very, very large, unusually large garniture jar that would have been part of a set of maybe one of these and then 3 beaker vases. And most of these that you see that come onto the market are, between 9 and 10 inches and maybe 13 or 14 inches in size, occasionally a little over 15 inches. This was a beast. It was 26 inches tall. And you can scratch your head if you collect export pieces and think about how many pieces you've seen that are just over 20 inches, much less over 25 inches. And I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago because it's an incredibly rare size. Maybe one in a couple of hundred of these that were produced in this shape were done in this size, if that many, if it's even 1 in 200, maybe 1 in 1,000, I don't know. But you don't see them often. And this one was not in good condition. And I pointed that out, that it's got repairs to the interior. A lot of the enameling has been rubbed off of it. This thing has had a life. But to give you an idea of the size of it, the width of it at this point in the midsection is a foot. So it was a big piece of porcelain. And in the end, it ended up selling for about $7,000, including the buyer's premium. 26 inches tall, 12 inches in diameter, rare thing. To give you some idea, if this had been in very nice condition, very good condition, fine condition, let's say, it would have sold for over $30,000, I suspect. It would have done awfully well. It would have brought a lot of money. All right, now, because it was so collectible in that size. And then over to this, the export covered hot food pots. We had talked to a good length about these because these were very illustrative of how pieces that were done during the Republic period could get, in people's minds, pushed back to being from the Guangxu period. And because these were so attractive, they're nice underglazed blue, 3 Friends of Winter pattern, all that stuff. But these were not Guangxu market period food pots. One, they didn't make them during the Guangxu period that I'm aware of with market period in this form. They did them later. This particular form of hot food pot were very, very popular between 1915 and the 1930s. And they made lots of them. They made lots and lots and lots of them. But also because the mark on the bottoms of these, I had pictures of these sent to me, they were so huge. The marks were ridiculously big proportionally to the bottom of the piece. The foot rims were too thick and so forth. There was a lot wrong with it. And they've got the very standard inserts that you would see in these here, these liners. And then when you come over to the mark, if you read the mark, those of number of you caught it. The 5th character mark is very badly screwed up. This one right here, it's missing actual strokes. There it is, complete. This is the second one, but one of them was like this, and that's a dead giveaway that it's not of the period, pretty much. But people see them, they see the marks, they get excited, and all you need is 2 out of the 60 bidders that were watching it. There were probably some over invaluable watching it. You need 2 people to get excited about it, and they think they've discovered the Holy Grail. And suddenly, instead of selling for $3,000 or $4,000 for the pair, they sold for $18,000 with the buyer's premium, which is that's the way it goes. They're not worth it. They didn't sell, and to New Orleans' credit, they didn't sell them as market period. They just said they have 6 character Guangxu marks on the bottom. That's all. That's all they said. And they did mention they'd been sold at Park Benay, Hong Kong, back in 1980. Um, but that doesn't mean anything. Back in 1980, Sotheby's and Park Benay and Christie's and these places, they were running Asian sales twice a week. People forget that. People in the 1960s and 70s in London, Christie's and Sotheby's would have Chinese porcelain sales and Asian art sales of some type 2, 3 times a week. They ran them constantly because there was so much stuff coming out of those houses in the UK in particular, and across Europe for that matter. But they were doing a lot of them, and so I'm not surprised at all. And these might have been sold back then, even by them back then, as being market period. Because a lot of things that they thought were market period, even in the 70s and 80s, they now know weren't, but they were not. All right, it's like all the Republic pieces at the Palace Museum in Taiwan that they think are market period, and a lot of them they've turned out to be Republic period pieces. But it's scholarship changes things. All right, and now over to this. This was something one of our viewers, Body, emailed me. He was thrilled. I talked about this. I talked about it on the Patreon video we did because we do them over there. And he bought this, and the estimate was $800 to $1,200, which I didn't think was unreasonable. It's a very nice Japanese Edo to early Meiji period altar, Buddhist altar with two attendants and Buddha in the middle. It measured about I think it was 10 inches wide, 11 inches wide, and about 9 inches tall. What were the dimensions? 11 and a half by 10 inches tall. So it was a nice size, nice looking little set. It had minor damage around the back of the wood, but the front of it visually was very good. It looked absolutely fine to me. And $170 plus premium. You can't beat that. So he's ended up into them for about $220, and they come apart. All these pieces lift off. They'd be easy to ship, and it's fairly light wood. It won't cost much to ship, and that was a good trade. That was a really good trade. And then this was at the Doyle sale this past week. This very nice late Ming picture of Zhao Wu Wang. I'd got in touch with him about this because I was kind of interested in it, frankly. But it was laid on board, and I wanted to know if it could be rolled up to be shipped and things, because unframed on board pieces can be a little bit tricky. And to ship, they're easily damaged. If the cardboard gets bent or cracked, it goes into the painting. It can be a little disaster, and that held the price back. That's why it was estimated at just $800 to $1,200. But somebody got a bargain. They picked it up for $425 plus the premium, and I think it's because it was unframed and it wasn't a scroll anymore. It couldn't be rolled, and it held it down a little bit. But it looked absolutely fine to me as far as the age of the attribution. I don't think they're wrong on that. But I think it was the fact that it was laid down and it posed a significant shipping issue. Plus, it's the middle of the summer. Everybody's away. If people are, the New Yorkers are not in New York this summer. They're out in the, they've gone to Cape Cod here in Massachusetts. They've gone to the Adirondacks. They've gone off to, Martha's Vineyard or Nantucket or the Hamptons or Oyster Bay or someplace, but anywhere but New York City, especially the past week or two where it's been, 190 degrees every day. Christ, who'd want to be there? All right, now over to this. The Kangxi charger in the two 18th century little bowls here, which I thought was sort of interesting. The little bowls looked very interesting to me. I would have loved to, if I'd been in New York, I'd probably swing by to take a look at them. They appear to be 18th century, but I can't figure out the pattern. I haven't seen before. But the charger, the big bowl, I really liked a lot. I thought it was wonderful, and I loved the way the flowers were drawn. It was very animated drawing, the way the leaves and so forth tip around, and then it's got the standard sort of lotus pattern, lotus leaf pattern, petal pattern going around the outside. Nicely done. Some fritting and so forth as usual on these. The plate measured 15 inches, so it was a large dish, and it sold for $1,400 plus the premium, or around $1,800 for the lot, against a $1,500 to $2,000 estimate. So they're dead spot on with that estimate. And then over to this, the pair of punch bowls. We previewed these a couple of weeks ago because I thought it was sort of interesting. You get a chance to buy a hunt bowl for the English market, and another one, a livestock bowl with cows and horses on it. The one on the left has cows and horses on it, and you can see them here, right? And there are the cows. They look like oxen because the Chinese always had trouble painting cows, They because the closest they have over there to cows are water buffalo, I guess. Anyway, and they're the horses, and the one on the right was a hunt bull. Now the hunt bull had restoration to it, according to Doyle. So it had some restoration. But people who collect China trade always want to own a hunt bull. And this was fairly nice, and these are sort of later 1800s, later 18th century examples, 1790s and so forth, judging by the decoration. But nicely done. And I liked the way the horses were done. They had these very, very long necks. They're almost like running giraffes with short legs. And there's some wear to the interior, but not bad. And it was the pair. You got the both of them. So the big bull was 11 and a half inches, the one on the right, and the one on the left was probably around 9.5, 10 inches, a little bit smaller. But you got them both, and they sold for $1,000 plus premium, or around $1,300, which is $700 a bull. There you go. And they both look presented well. And the one on the left apparently had no restoration. This bull was perfect, and that's a fairly rare pattern. This is not your standard export bull when you had things like that, the animals on them like that. So that was a good buy. And then over to this, the very, very nice piece of porcelain with the ugly mounts. I mentioned that last week. I thought the mounts on this are just absolute trash. But the jar itself was quite attractive. Apparently, they tried to take the mounts off. They wanted to be able to show the bottom, because I know people there, they probably really wanted to do it. And I suspect you're only going to get these mounts off with like boiling hot water, because they're probably attached with hide glue of some kind, some sort of glue. And whoever bought this is going to have to dismount this thing because the mounts are unbearable to live with. But the jar is so pretty. I can't imagine how that happened, how they ended up putting this silly crap onto it. But the decoration looks good. And it does look like a Kangxi jar. And nobody's usually I say things like that, and somebody will email me and say, "Oh, I went and looked at it. It looks like it's Kangxi, but it's a little later or something." And nobody's emailed me yet. So my gut is that this was a Kangxi jar with a lid. The whole package was about 14 inches tall, so the jar was probably about 11 inches tall, but a nice looking thing. Went for just $900 plus the premium. So around 11 or 1200, somewhere in there for that pot. But you do have to get the mounts off. If you bought it, get the mounts off of it. Just find a way to do it if you can. Unless removing them damages the piece, then you have to figure out something else, some other way to handle it. All right, and then the big charger. Chinese Amari charger. This was at Nye and Company down there in Connecticut, right? Oh no, Bloomfield, New Jersey. And this was a big plate. It was 18 inches in diameter, which is quite large for a Kangxi Amari pattern porcelain. And it was sold at Christie's, and then later it was sold by a lady I've known for many, many years, very nice dealer named Polly Latham. And those of you who collect China trade know Polly, of course. She's in Boston. She's been in Boston now for, I don't know, she's been a dealer for 30 or 40 years now at this point. I met her way back we were both sort of getting into the business back in the 80s. She was awfully nice. She was a very nice lady. And I was thrilled that she opened that gallery. And so forth. She did a good job. She's very knowledgeable, and she sells great things. If you're in Boston, Polly Latham Antiques, swing in there and have a look. And she's very informative and helpful. Anyway, there's this a very, very nice plate, and I think somebody got a good buy on it. Again, I think this is you're sort of dealing with summer pricing. $700 plus premium, or around $910 for an 18-inch Kangxi Amari plate. We just saw the blue and white one that was smaller, sold for $1,400 plus premium, $1,800. This is to many, this is a more desirable type. It's more simply decorated, but it's quite elegant. It looks a lot like some of the English examples that copied the Chinese. So that it's sort of interesting from that standpoint. All right, and then over to this, the rug, the Mongolian rug we talked about. Excuse me. Last week, I liked this. I'd seen this rug in a house a while ago up in the Boston area, but it was big. It was 7 by 4 feet. It looks like a little mat. That's what's fun about it. In this photo, you think it's small. It's 4 by 7 feet, so it's a pretty good sized scatter rug. Very, very thick, extremely soft wool. It had lovely wool in it, and ended up going for about $700. And then this, the Japanese Yamamoto watercolor it looks like a grandfather having lunch with his grandson. It's a charming scene. They're both smiling and enjoying each other's company. And this style of art is, we talked about this picture a few weeks ago because it's a genre of painting that the Japanese did. And there are people who collect these very specifically, and they often sign them in English. They signed it in Japanese. They signed it also in English letters. But very nicely done watercolors. I own one not too of this type. It's a different scene. It's a Japanese gate with people in the background and mist and so forth. But very same era, same. And actually, the painter of the one I have was associated with the same school of art that Yamamoto was, and they're not terribly valuable. This is the great part. I mean, not terribly expensive. I think they're valuable. I think they're priceless, but they're not expensive. And this sold for $275 plus premium. It's a nice picture. It's a nice picture. Never let price decide in your mind what something is, if it's good or not, because there's some awfully nice things in the world that aren't expensive because people aren't paying attention to them currently. It's really that simple. And this kind of art, I think, is wonderful area of interest for people. And you can collect it, and you're not going to blow your pension on it because you don't want to invest in art as a reliable place as a store of wealth. It's not a good idea. Never has been. And then over to didn't we already do this one? Hold on. Yeah, we already covered that. We get back to it for some reason. There we go. This we did. This is coming up. I don't know why I duplicated like that. Shouldn't have done that. Anyway, this is just a reminder. There were a bunch of things that have sold. This auction starts in a few hours. Hopefully you'll get this up in time for you. This was the Sunburst auction with all the books out in California. That's coming up, and there's some good books in there. I hope you take part in it. Tomorrow is the Raphael Asana auction on Nantucket, and there's some good China trade silver. I know a bunch of you know about it. China trade silver. There's some good Chinese export. There's a nice. What was in there? There was one thing in particular I saw. There was some nice, some decent China trade pictures in there, because there's a lot of China trade in Nantucket. People forget that, but it was major. Well, it was one of the biggest whaling ports in the United States, and they had Nantucket had sailboats in the Pacific Ocean, hunting down whales for the whaling industry. They really were far-reaching. They're quite impressive. And then over to this. This is the Stair Gallery sale that's coming up in 4 days, and they have it's their ceramic sale, and you're going to see some very nice China trade, some export wares in here. There's like 3 pages of it here. There's about 60 lots or so, and we're going to go through a few of them just to give you an idea of some of the pieces that sort of caught my eye. One of them is this: the Arms of Tesser. These very nice armorial vegetables with invected corners. These pinched corners they call them invected corners. China trade armorial vegetable plates with these giant berry finials on it. But I look at these, and these are a lot of these pieces came from a dealer in Lombard in Pennsylvania. But notice the quality of the armorial crest. The condition is excellent. The gilding on the edging, this edge gilding, is all intact. Those are the things you look for if you want to get an idea if a piece has been used a lot or abused a lot. These are very nice. There it is. And that armorial crest looks just about as good as it could ever possibly look. It looks absolutely perfect. I love the pig in the middle, the boar. He's like he's dancing. The estimate for the pair of them is $800 to $1,200. $400 starting bid. It's already got a starting bid on it. It's got 7 people watching it. But these are nice vegetables, and they're 11 by 12 inches, so they're pretty good size. But the quality of the work, there's not a huge amount of decoration on them, but the decoration that's on them is very tight. It's very elegant. It's very understated. Quite nice. And I would urge you, if you buy these, use them as vegetable terrines. Don't put them on a shelf somewhere. Use them. We do here. I mentioned it before. We've had people over for dinner, and we have China trade bowls we use to serve things in. Some nice ones. Some for the Middle Islamic market too. Why not? Why not? You can. How often do you actually break a nice piece of porcelain from your dinner? If you have a good dinner service and you bring it out for holidays, how often do you break a piece? Probably never. You can the same holds true for good China trade pieces. You can use them and enjoy them. They make the table look nice. And if you have people that are coming for dinner that know about antiques, they're going to say, "Oh, this is great! Look at those." And it makes the evening a little more fun. That's all. It's like having vases and never putting flowers in them. If you have vases, try to keep flowers in them as much as possible. And then over to this is very nice. This looks like a wedding teapot with two coats of arms on it. A nice example. I don't know who those arms are. They say coffee pot, coat of arms, unmarked. The arms are probably continental. I agree with that. You'd have to get out the old Howard book and look them up. You'll find them in there. But they estimated $400 to $600, $200 opening bid. This is sort of a big lighthouse teapot. It measures 10 inches tall. That's absolutely fine. That's a nice piece of China trade. And then there's this lot. Now this was sort of interesting because I noticed something about these, and some of you will see it right away. The decoration on the teapot and the tureen in particular, and the bowl too, but the tureen and the teapot are very noticeable. It's very understated decoration. And that you'll notice how strong this sort of Celadon blue underglaze they put on these. These are extremely fine 1830 to 1840 examples. Extremely fine. One, they didn't crowd them out with too much decoration. They're very open. Often these kinds with the birds on these ground, they sort of crowd them in. Two, the form and shape of the teapot in the tureen, the teapot in particular, is based on an English silver form. It's beautifully done. Notice the stirrup handle over here and the way the dome is done with this beautiful gilt edge, gilt finial, and this will have a very long receiver going down into it. Nice stout spout on it, and so forth. There it is. There's the cover. That's it had a big one on it. And this is a very large teapot. This is not a 5-inch teapot. According to the dimensions here, the teapot is 7 3/4 inches tall and 11 inches wide. So that's a big honking teapot. It's a foot wide. And that makes sense because the tureen is probably about 9 or 10 inches wide. But this is a heck of a nice set. And the estimate, I think, is very reasonable, $500 to $700. I think that teapot's worth about $800 all by itself. And I think the tureen's worth another $600 or $700. Then you have the bowl's worth another $200 or $300, and so forth. So there's if you're a dealer and you're looking at this estimate, do some calculating and you'll know how much you want to pay on it. Now you're shipping off of Nantucket. You're shipping out of New York with these, and we've bought some things up in that area, not too far back. There's some very good UPS stores around there. And just as an aside, we bought something the other day, and from California, and the auction house live auctioneer's quote was $115 or $16 or something. It was some crazy thing for a little 9-inch vase. And I got a hold of them, and they said, "Oh yeah, it's fine." And they came back and they quoted me around $40 to ship it. They said, "We have alternatives. We can do that." So ignore the live auctioneers shipping quotes whenever you see them. Just ignore them. They're rubbish. They're absolutely rubbish. I don't know who's giving them their estimates, but the estimates are double and triple what it actually costs. And I think they're hurting themselves by forcing. They're requiring all auctioneers now to include it as an option with some sort of quote that they're automatically generating, and the quotes are just frankly ridiculous, and they don't have a handle on it. And the auctioneers, if you're an auctioneer out there, put in your listings, in every listing, saying shipping is available through us. Ignore live auctioneers. And encourage that. Otherwise, you're gonna lose bidders. You're gonna lose bidders, and bidders you're gonna lose out on good objects because you don't know that there's an alternative. There is. I've had a number of people echo back to me the same things. They bought things in places, and they're able to get very reasonable shipping through local UPS stores. UPS ground here in the United States will get anything anywhere within 2 or 3 days. There's no need to pay for overnight shipping at 3 times, 5 times, 10 times the price. All right, I had a piece not long ago. I was quoted $700 to ship $600. I had it sent UPS ground for under $100, and it got here in 3 days. So, that's the difference. All right, now moseying along. This is also in the Stair Gallery sales. This very nice Judgment of Paris plate. Those of you who collect China trade are familiar with this pattern, and you know that this is often done with many, many, many variations. They did it in grisaille, they did it in female rose, they did it with different color in the background. And there are people who collect these types of plates, and they collect them based on the variations. They want to own all the variations they can find. And this is a nice one, and the enameling on it is quite good. Often these Judgment of Paris plates, for some reason, had a lot. They often turn up with a lot of wear on them, and it's just I don't know. I guess people ate off of them a lot. But this is a nice one. It's particularly well done. The colors are quite rich and strong. I think it's a good looking plate. And this also came from James Labau's dealer. He was a very good dealer. He handled some great stuff. The estimate is what is it? $5 to $700. $250 starting price. There's 36 bidders. It'll bring that. It may bring 1,000 or more. Judgment of Paris is a very desirable pattern, and this is a good-looking one. And then over to this, a pair of 1770s to 1780s vases with these big, long chimera handles on them. These baby dragons, as they say, going up the side. And these sort of rectangular tapered vases that they produce came with a variety of different handles in them of one kind or another. You do see these. Sometimes you see them with lids. Sometimes you see them without lids. The general rule of thumb is if the mouth of the vase around the top is glazed, it probably wasn't meant to have a lid. And if it is unglazed, it probably meant it was intended to have a lid, because they typically didn't glaze areas they were going to put lids on. And that's not always, because I've seen exceptions to that, but and I've seen these with lids and I've seen them without lids. It's a strange thing, but I like the handles a lot on these. They're nice and big, and they really look like baby dragons crawling up the side of it. You want to get a condition report to make sure that there's no damage, because as is obvious by the way they're made, these would be extremely prone to damage. You'll notice at the bottom of this one, for example, it's not even attached to the vase. It's just a floating appendage. And the same with the heads. But these are quite attractive. These are nice examples. The estimate is extremely reasonable: $8 to $12, $400 a piece to $600 a piece. I expect them to bring probably $1,300 to $1,700. I would think maybe $2,000 or more, because they appear to be in very, very nice condition. All right, and then hopping along over to this, the much beloved Lotus plates. Everybody loves these. There's something about Lotus plates. People just like them. And they made them. They didn't make a lot of them, but they did make quite a few of them. They made enough of them, and they turn up. And usually they're very worn, often very worn. The enamels in the middle are chipped. The pinking around the edges is worn, and so forth. But these look like they're in very good shape. And one of them has this very unusual sort of come back over here. This sort of green, this like leaf green tinge they've applied to the edge of the inside of the lotus leaf. I think I know the effect that they were trying to get. It's sort of interesting. And but these are very pointy. These will give you some idea. These lotus tips on these are very, very pointy. They come up a lot. Some of them are more rounded and they're slightly lower profile, but these really stick out. And here's the backs of them. They look fine. What are they, 9 inches or so? 9 inches diameter. They came in a variety of sizes. Occasionally you'll see them 14 or 15 inches, but typically they're 8.5, 9, 10 inches, somewhere around there. These are good looking. They're very collectible. Let's see, the estimate is 600 to 800. Yeah. Generally speaking, one of these in auctions, in the last few auctions we've seen, they've sold for around $500 or $600, $700 each. So I think they could do pretty well. If you can get them for less, of course, that's great too. If you're a dealer, it's even greater, because you got to make a living. But I like these. I've always liked the Lotus dishes. They also made punch bowls in this size, and they made teapots with this pattern and so forth, so you can collect a set. And now over to this. This is Clar's auction gallery. And they have 2 lots in particular I like. They have some stuff that I'm not that crazy about, because I don't think it's authentic. But this is a really nice Joseon period Korean brush pot, reticulated with little alternating panels of flowers, and then I don't know, the berries or ling chai or some sort of lychee nuts or something. And then on the other one is, hold on, there we have grapes. There we have pomegranates. So they have different types of things in each window. And this is looks like pomegranates and gourds in this side. They are not. This is not perfect. Just so you know, it's underglazed red decorated and all that. It's got some hairlines in it. It's got a chip out of it. This is a late 18th to early 19th century example from based on what I'm seeing. The bottom of it, pretty typical. It's got that big separation that does not go through to the inside. The bottoms of these are fairly thick. This is just on the outside, and it's from the firing process. That's not a damage crack. That's just heat pulling it apart as it would heat up and then cool down, and it created a gap in it. But it looks absolutely fine. Lots of kiln grit under there. Nicely done foot, slightly bull-nosed, and so forth. The estimate is five to 8,000, $2,500 opening bid. I'm gonna really interested. I'm gonna be really interested to see how this sells. For one, because it's a very rare form. It's absolutely authentic, I believe, and but it's not in perfect condition. It's got 2 or 3 lines in it. It's got a chip out of it. It's not in great shape. It's a scholar. It's something a person who's really interested from a scholarly sort of collect the true collector's position rather than the investor who wants only the perfect piece. This is a very interesting piece of ceramic because it's old. It's a rare form. You don't see reticulated ones very often, and you don't see them with underglazed red very often. So it's sort of hitting all the buttons. And then you have this Goryeo example, Goryeo dynasty, 10th, 11th century cup and stand. And this looks absolutely fine. And if you're wondering, I was looking at it. It's got the antiquities paperwork on it. In Korea, when you take artwork, I believe it's when you take it out of the country, it has to go through a little bit of a process. And they have to certify that you're taking, if it's authentic, they certify that it's authentic. And they'll tell you, this is an authentic antique. Here it is. And there's a bunch of numbers on here, and they record all those. And this is one of the ways they sort of keep track of things over the years that leave the country. And I don't blame them for that because they're trying to repatriate a lot of stuff. But these are very nice little cup stand and little set. And there's one of the seal pieces identifying it as having been inspected. And that's one of the owners, apparently. They have the provenance on it. The guy was who was he? He was a business guy. I forget who it was. Let's see. Dennis Dunlop, 1917. He died in 2012. Served as New Zealand's ambassador. There we go. He was the ambassador from New Zealand, and he began collecting. And he somehow ended up here, and somehow ended up in California. Anyway, $1,000 opening bid, $2,000 to $3,000 estimate. It's a nice thing. All right, and then over here to this. This is the bottom sale at Skinner's, Boston. Now, there's several lots in this sale that are quite good. This caught my eye. This is not Chinese. All right. This is Pennsylvania, second quarter of the 19th century, sponge-decorated blanket chest. And this kind of stuff was all the rage back in the 90s. If you went to any of the fancy shows, the Upper East Side, the East Side Settlement House show, those shows, the high end with the good American folk art dealers, they would have things like this in their booths. So they would price these at anywhere from $12,000 to $15,000 to $25,000, depending on the dealer. And they got it. They got it. This is in a sale right now. It's estimated at under $1,000, and it is absolutely authentic. There's nothing wrong with it. And I can tell you that back in the mid '90s, when American stuff was all the rage, dealers would run across broken glass to get a piece like this because it was in such good condition. It's in remarkable condition. It's a great looking blanket chest. And it's estimated at what? $500 to $700. It's an absolute no-brainer. 1835, 43 inches wide, and it was sold originally by Old Hope Antiques in Pennsylvania, one of the best antique, one of those top-tier Americana dealers and antique folk art dealers of the country at the time. There were about 30 of them really that were the top dogs in those days. You had Marguerite Reardon, Wayne Pratt, Albert Sack, Pook and Pook. Bill Samaha, that caliber person, Bernard Levy, of course. Then you had Leslie Kino, who had a store in New York, sold great things. Lots of them. There were lots and lots of great dealers. And the Old Hope was one of them. They all had full page ads every month in Antiques magazine, and they had a real following because they really did the work. And a lot of them passed away, and that was sort of the end of that market. And a lot of younger people haven't taken up the cudgel yet and brought it forward. But I think that there's going to be some real interest in this stuff down the road. And if you could buy this box for 3 times its estimate, you got a bargain. And if you can wrestle this out of this auction for under $3,000, you got a steal on your hands. It's a great thing. It's a great thing. It's all there is to it. And then this very nice, it probably is Lancaster, Pennsylvania, bonnet top, Chippendale with a swan's neck pediment, secretary desk, ball and claw feet, very, very handsome wood, Gothic doors, and then this beautiful, deeply carved swan's neck pediment at the top. What a piece of carving these rosettes are, and then the overlaid leaf and vine pattern and so forth. And then if you travel down it, there's very good figuring in the wood. And wait till you see what the estimate and the price on it. So they're practically free. Nice shell carving on the prospect door in the middle. Has the little removable hidden boxes on each side. Those little vertical boxes you pull out to put special papers in or notes to people who you want them to find later and so forth. Nicely done, beautiful wood grain. This came from an institution apparently, and well placed, widely spaced ball and claw feet on OG brackets. This is a nice looking thing. Anyway, it's only estimated $1,000 to $1,500. Really? You couldn't get that pediment carved for under $5,000, $10,000. It's crazy. Anyway, it's a beautiful secretary desk. It's fairly tall. It's like 7 feet tall. It's over 8 feet tall. It's 8.5 feet tall, so you need a fairly high ceiling. 1775, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. It was deaccessioned from a New England institution. They acquired it 50 years ago, in 1966. 49 years ago it went there. Isn't it? There it is. 60 years ago, excuse me. Yeah, it's been a while. Heck of a piece of furniture. And then hopping along over to this, maybe the most elegant men's armchair I've seen in years. And this, they believe, it's interesting. They believe that it was made by George Henkel's in Pennsylvania. And it's funny because I wouldn't have thought that, but because Henkel's was known for making sort of belter style Victorian furniture. The place was very active in the 1840s into the sort of mid 1850s. And this is a Renaissance revival chair, but the carving on it is so stupendous and it looks like the original leather. And these are a really, really elegant, powerful chair. If you're looking for the perfect chair to put where you work, where you sit, at a desk all day, boy, this would be it. This is like a throne. I love this chair. I may go out and look at it. I think it's absolutely great. I don't have any idea what I could do with it, but the estimate is $1,500 to $2,500. I think the opening bid on it is $1,000 or $750. And it'll be interesting to see how it does because Henkel's chairs do turn up in auctions. The big Victorian looking ones with all this fancy carving on them, they generally sell for anywhere from $400 or $500 up to maybe $1,200. This is a different type though. This Renaissance revival business is a little outside of what he normally produced. And evidently they were able to find a comp for it in some other collection. So this is why they've made that attribution. I'm assuming they didn't just pull it out of thin air. But boy, what a handsome chair. What an absolutely handsome chair this is. And then over to this, the big painting, the Paella Grande at Macau. What's very interesting about this is the size of the sheet. This is not on canvas. This is not a gouache on canvas. This is a gouache on paper. This is a giant piece of paper. It is, and this is what may drive a price for it, is 18 by 31 inches. There are not a lot of sheets of paper in China that are that big. And just getting them, it was a real luxury thing to have that. And this is a wonderful view, of course. And you've seen this view many, many, many times in China trade paintings. The painter is either sitting here looking at the cove on his left, or he's sitting at the other end and the cove is on your right. We've seen both in the last few months. This is a nice one. And it's got its original China trade frame to it. That's a China trade frame all day long, right there. And apparently it looks fine on the back. I don't think that, Yeah, they don't show much on the back. There's still a little water stain on there. The water stain didn't get onto the painting though. It's a miracle. But that's a very, very good painting, in a very, very nice package. And it's very large overall. It's 40, what was it? 41 inches long. So it's over 3 feet across at the bottom if you do the length of it. But it would make a room. You get a lot of bang for your buck there. And the painting is very crisp, very clean. And I do not see any signs of water damage or staining to it anywhere. It looks good. It looks very good. All right. And then on to this. This is another thing that's going on at Bonham's, Skinner's in Bolton. They're having a rug sale. And there's several. They have some real collector, what I call collector type textile rugs, but they're really not walkable. Some of them are, but not all. A lot of them are not. They're sort of rather worn, but very early types for the hardcore collector. These are not typically rugs you're going to put on your floor to walk on, but rugs you buy because you collect textiles and you want an example from the 18th century like this, and that's what the lot of this sale is. But they do have a number of very good rugs that are absolutely made my jaw drop. This is one of them. This is a 6 by 10 foot tree of life kazak. And those of you who like Caucasian rugs will notice right away what the deal is with this. It's got a very interesting egg yolk yellow ground, which is very unusual for these, with a very nice light blue and a slightly off-white on the border. And it's basically, it's a fairly limited color palette, though it looks like there's a lot of color here. There isn't, because the way it was done, the way that the weaver did it, it made it look like it's got millions of colors, and it only has around five or six. It sounds fine. There's a red, there's a light blue, there's a dark blue, there's a cream, there's a yellow, and the midterm green. 6 colors in the whole rug. And it looks like it's got dozens of colors. That's really about it. And the dominant color is yellow and blue on this carpet with this very nice cream center. But this is a beautiful rug, and it's a very early rug. It's the second half of the 19th century tree of life kazak. And it looks like it's in very good condition. So you could put this down. They've got some nice photographs of the weave on the back. The pile in here all looks good. It's a very, 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 very pretty rug. 6 by 10 feet. And it's estimated at 5,000 to 7,000. I think the starting price is around 2,500 on it. And then if that wasn't enough for you, then you have this. This is even rarer, I believe. It's a very fine 18th century Ningxia 5.5 by 8.5 foot rug with this great color. Now, you've seen this pattern before. If you collect Chinese rugs and you have books on Chinese carpets and so forth, there's a couple of books that use this style of rug and these colors on the covers. Very, very attractive. And this rug was probably made around 1780 to 1810, possibly early 19th century, but not far into it, sort of the beginning of the Chai Ching period. But a very, very beautiful carpet. And it's good size, 5.5 by 8.5. That's a nice size rug. It is, the sale starts on August 4th, ends on the 14th. It's timed sale. And the last thing is this. Here is just some of the Chinese rugs in the sale. There's quite a few of them. You want to look at them very carefully, though, because you'll notice that some of them, they're very old. They're wonderful old patterns and so forth. Here you have one that's 18th century, right? But you can't walk on it because it's so worn out. All right, what you've got here are these giant areas of pretty extreme low pile. You can see the wefts and the warps. I mean, there's nothing there. So if you put this down on a rug, you're going to be walking on bare woodwork within a year or two. So this is a rug for the rug collector. This is a rug for the textile collector that's going to hang it on the wall because it'll look wonderful hanging. It's a beautiful pattern. It's very early, but you do not want to buy that as actual carpeting for your house because you'll be very unhappy in a few months. But there's several pages of rugs in here of Chinese carpets and Tibetan carpets and so forth. It's worth looking into. All right. So that's about it. It's sort of an interesting time period right now. It's a great chance to go out and buy and look at interesting things, find some things that maybe you don't typically buy. But it's a good time for bargains as well, because much of the market is not paying attention. The major auction houses aren't doing much of anything right now. They won't until September. Right now, they're just flub-dubbing around like they have been for the last couple of years. And this mid-range auction houses, I think, are taking a break because they've been working like small dogs all the time. And I think you're going to see some interesting sales this fall, so keep your eyes peeled. But pay attention to the few sales that have come up. And you have to look in odd places right now to find things, but there are things going on. But do think about buying some, other things to fill your house and make your home more enjoyable and give you a new area of interest in learning about history and how pieces came to be made. And that's where all the fun is. All right. Have a great week. Subscribe here if you haven't so far. Join us over on Patreon. We've been doing several videos a week over there, and they're more informal. I recorded a couple while I'm driving my car and talking about things that are going on. It's much looser. It's fun. We've got a number of subscribers now. We've got several hundred of them, and they communicate. They put things in. They make comments. It's fun. It's fun and loose. It's sort of like the forum on Bitamount, which we have, of course, too, with Mark over there moderating things, and it's a good little community on both sides. But the Patreon side, we're just adding more content all the time over there because I think it seems to be really building out into something interesting, and I hope it continues. All right, have a great weekend. Enjoy it. It's cooler and drier here today. It's only about 70 degrees here. It's quite nice. All right, see you next time. Bye-bye.